The highlighted code is going to use the new -shard map manager commandlet from the shard management.psm module to register the newly created database in step 8 as the shard map manager. This creates the database objects that are needed for shard management in the shard map manager database under the shard management schema. The next code snippet uses the new range shard manager map function from the shard management module to create a range shard map in the shard map manager database. The key type parameter defines the data type of the sharding key. In our case, the sharding key is customer ID, which is of the integer data type. Shard map manager is the shard map manager object assigned to the $shard map manager variable in step 10. Now this tells the function to create the shard map in this particular shard map manager. The range shard map name variable is the name of the shard map toy store range map. Now the highlighted code uses the add shard function from the shard management module and adds the individual shards, shard 1 and shard 2, to the toy store range map created in the previous step. The shared map is the shard map object assigned to the shard map variable in step 11. Now this tells the function the shard map in which the shards are to be added. The SQL Server name and SQL Server database name are the logical server name and the database name of the shards to be added to the shard map. So this step will create the local shard management objects in the individual shards under the _shard management database. Then we use the add range mapping function from the shard management module to specify the key range for the first shard only. It takes the following parameters, so key type, so the data type of the sharding key column, integer in our case, the range shard map, the range shard map object, this is assigned to the shard map variable in step 11. Range low, basically the lower boundary of the range, 0 in our case, and then range high is the higher boundary of the range, which is 200 in our case. The SQL Server name and the SQL database name are also provided. Mappings are added only to the first shard because it has all the customer records, 200 in total. In the next activity, we'll split those records between the various shards using a split merge utility. The last section of the script adds the schema information of the sharded and reference table in the shard map manager database. The schema information includes the schema name, table name, and key column. This is done by initializing a schema info object of type microsoft.azure.sqldatabase.elasticscale.shardmanagement.schema.schema.info and then adding the table details to this object using the add function. The schema info.add function takes 3 arguments: schema name, table name, and key column name. The schema info collection variable gets the shard map manager schema info collection object. The schema is then added to the shard map manager by a schema info collection add function call that takes a minimum of 2 arguments. The shard map to add the schema details to, and the schema details as defined in the schema info object. When you're completely happy with the sharding script, we can execute it. Just make sure it's saved. The resource group is toy store rg. The server is toy store SQL. The username is SQL admin. The password is a very secure password. The shard map manager database is going to be toystore_smm. You're going to be sharding toy store, and off we go. The script will run, and all being well, we'll have a sharded database at the end of it. And when it's completed, we get lots of messages saying our toy store database is now sharded. A quick refresh on the Azure portal. Now I'm in my ToyStore RG resource group, and you can see there we've got our ToyStore Shard 1, ToyStore Shard 200, the SMM database. We are in good shape. We can review the shard configuration and just to make sure the PowerShell script is run as we want it to. I'm going to connect in Management Studio to my ToyStore SQL database, and you can see there I now have 3 databases: Shard 1 to 0, Shard 200 and ToyStore SMM. So the Shard 1 there is the ToyStore database that we renamed. Shard 200 is the new database we created, and ToyStore SMM is the Shard Map Manager. Okay, and if we go into ToyStore SMM, look at the tables in here. We can see there's a few tables that sit under the _ shared management schema. We are going to use a split merge service to split the data between our 2 shards. Now the first step here, we're going to follow the instructions on the Microsoft website for deploying a split merge service. I'm going to download the latest NuGet version, and I've done this already. I'm going to open the command prompt, navigate to a directory with nuggets installed, and I'm going to include the PowerShell commands as well. And I've run the nugget command here to download the latest split merge package into the current directory, and these have all been put in my lesson 6 folder, and it's in the splitting folder here. So I've downloaded these files and they have been put in here. Okay, we've got our split merge, we've got our service, we've got the config file. In order to split the data between our shards, we will need to utilize a split merge service. So in this exercise, I'm just going to talk you through deploying a split merge service on Azure. Now the first thing we need to do is download the split merge packages. Okay, so on this Microsoft link here, you can get the Nugget, the latest version of Nugget from here, and then we're going to open a command prompt in administrator mode. We're going to navigate to the directory where we downloaded the nugget.exe, and we're going to include the PowerShell commands, and then we're going to run nugget install Microsoft Azure SQL database elastic-scale service.splitmerge. And the files get placed in a directory called Microsoft Azure SQL database elastic service split merge, and then the version number. Okay, and then when we found that, we're good to go. Now before we go any further, we need to create an Azure SQL database that will be used as the split merge status manager. So if I show you on my Azure SQL server here on the ToyStore database, I created a split merge database. We need to ensure that the Azure SQL database allows Azure services to connect to it. So if I click on my split merge database and I go into set server firewall, we can see that allow access to Azure services is on. We need a storage account that was going to be used for diagnostic output. Now I created a storage account for ToyStore way back in a different lesson, so for the purposes of this I'm just going to use that storage account for that. And then I'm going to create an Azure cloud service that's going to contain our split merge service. So in the Azure portal, if I go to my resource group, which is ToyStore RG, this one there. When this loads up, you can see I've got a merge split DB cloud service app, okay, deployed in Western Europe. Now I need to configure the split merge service. So when I installed and downloaded the split merge assemblies in the previous step, there was a configuration template. So I installed mine into the lesson 6 folder, which I'm just going to pop on the screen here now. Hold on. There we go. Full screen there. And if I go into lesson 6 and I go into splitting, you can see here's where I installed the assemblies. I'm going to double click. I'm going to go into the contents folder, the split merge folder, and then the services folder. Now in here you will have a template config file, and I have edited my template already, so I'll just open this in Notepad++. Pop this on the screen as well. Okay, and I've made all the necessary changes I'm just going to talk about here, including the certificate thumbprint, the connection to the merge split database that I've just created. They're the main changes that I needed to make. I'm just going to minimize that and minimize that. So when you're configuring this file, you specify the database connection string for the merge split database, and you need to do that for both the split merge web and the split merge worker roles. Then I configured security. Now, just for the purpose of this, I created a self-signed certificate using the makecert command here, using developer command prompt for Visual Studio. I followed the same for creating a PFX file. And then I imported the client certificate into my personal store, just following these instructions. So you open up a Microsoft Management Console prompt, import the certificates and the current user, double click the certificate you've just run and run through the steps here. Works absolutely fine. Same for the PFX. So I had to upload the PFX file to Azure. So that's done through the Azure portal. You go to the cloud service. You create for a split merge. There is a certificates option in your cloud service. So if I just go into here, you will see it. You can click on certificates, and you can see there my certificates have been uploaded already. Once the certificates have been uploaded, you will get a thumbprint. Okay, so if I just go back to my dashboard here, you can see I've got a thumbprint. So I make a copy of that, and then I'm going to paste that into various sections of my configuration file. So you've got the various options here: data encryption, primary certificate, thumbprint, specify it in the value, and it's the same for all the others: data encryption, primary, additional trusted certificate authorities, and so on. All these in there I have added to my configuration file.